Most people think they know the Shawshank Redemption. It's that heartwarming prison drama about hope, right? A classic, sure. But what if I told you the version you've seen is just the surface? Behind the scenes, the cast and crew have exposed secrets so wild, they'll make you see the film in a completely different light. From a real prison haunted by decades of suffering, to deleted scenes that nearly destroyed the story's meaning, to the bizarre $1 deal that started it all, the truth behind Shawshank is stranger and far deeper than fiction. These aren't your average movie trivia facts. These are the hidden details, the quiet confessions, and the off-camera choices that reshaped a movie the world thought it knew. And once you hear them, you'll never watch Shawshank the same way again. Believe it or not, one of the greatest films of all time almost never existed, because nobody thought it would work. When writer-director Frank Darabont first approached Stephen King about adapting Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, even King wasn't convinced. Not because he doubted Darabont's talent, but because the story was too quiet, too internal, too un-Hollywood. So why did King agree? Because Darabont offered him a single dollar. That's right, $1. King had a little-known Dollar Baby program, where aspiring filmmakers could adapt his short stories for practically nothing, as long as the result wasn't commercialized. But Darabont's version would go further than King expected, and he gave him the green light anyway. That $1 deal changed everything. With no big studio watching over his shoulder, Darabont had rare creative freedom. No corporate notes, no rewrites from executives, just a raw, intimate vision, completely his own. Tim Robbins later revealed that because the budget was small and expectations were even smaller, the cast could take risks no big-budget film would allow. Morgan Freeman described it as an afterthought to Hollywood at the time. Ironic, considering it would one day top IMDb's greatest films of all time. But maybe that's what made it special. With no spotlight and no pressure, the film was built on heart, not hype. And that freedom, that obscurity, laid the foundation for something unforgettable. Shawshank wasn't filmed on a Hollywood set. It was shot inside a real prison, Ohio State Reformatory, shut down just 4 years earlier for inhumane conditions. The place didn't just look bleak, it felt haunted. Clancy Brown, who played the ruthless Captain Hadley, said stepping inside those gates changed something in your soul. You didn't have to act, he said. The prison did it for you. Even the extras weren't faking it. Many had actually served time in that same prison. Darabont wanted authenticity, and their presence gave the film a quiet intensity that no casting call ever could. Tim Robbins would sit alone in the cells between takes just to feel the panic settle in, and it worked. The crew even aged the walls differently for each decade, making them cleaner over time, a subtle nod to Andy's hidden influence. As Morgan Freeman put it, I wasn't just playing a prisoner. I was playing a man surviving in that exact hellhole. And that realism seeped into every frame. What made Shawshank's characters so powerful wasn't just the script, it was what the actors brought that no one ever saw. Morgan Freeman didn't just play Red as a wise old inmate. He built an entire hidden backstory. A man who once ran numbers in the black community, who held quiet power before losing it all. That loss is what made Red so good at navigating Shawshank. He wasn't just a man doing time. He was a man who knew how the system worked, inside and out. Tim Robbins took it even further. He didn't just play Andy Dufresne, he created two of him. One was the version the inmates saw, stiff, quiet, methodical. The other was the real Andy, the one chipping through the wall, playing opera, planning his escape. Robbins said he changed his body language in private scenes to reflect that second self, looser, freer, more alive. Most viewers never notice, but they feel the difference. And then there's Brooks. That heart-wrenching storyline almost didn't exist. Actor James Whitmore based the character on his own father, who battled deep depression after his wife died. The scene where Brooks feeds the birds? Whitmore added that himself. His father used to do the same thing, alone in the park, quietly grieving. That tiny gesture turned a minor subplot into one of the film's most devastating emotional anchors. Every major character in Shawshank carried more than what was written on the page. They brought real people into the walls of that prison, ghosts of lives once lived, and that's what made their performances unforgettable. Shawshank isn't just a prison movie, it's a visual puzzle. and most fans never even realize they're watching it. Tim Robbins revealed that Andy is almost always framed behind bars, even when he's not in a cell. Whether it's stair railings, fences, or shadows, director Frank Darabont made sure Andy always looked caged. It's a silent reminder, Andy wasn't just trapped by walls, he was trapped by guilt, by memory, by the plan he carried in secret. And then there's the rooftop scene, the one where the inmates drink cold beer in the sun. On the surface, it looks like a rare moment of freedom. But according to Morgan Freeman, that's the scene where Andy begins building his escape. That's when he earns the guards' trust by helping them with finances. While everyone else sees a man handing out beers, Red sees something else entirely. A man laying the first brick in a secret path to freedom. Even the famous posters in Andy's cell weren't just props. Robbins explained that Rita Hayworth, Marilyn Monroe, and Raquel Welch each symbolized a phase in Andy's transformation, from innocence to sexual awakening to primal rebirth. By the time he crawls through that tunnel, it's not just a physical escape, it's a complete shedding of identity. That final shot, where Raquel Welch flaps in the breeze, isn't just about the hole, it's about everything Andy left behind. Shawshank is full of these hidden layers. They don't scream for attention. They whisper. And once you start noticing them, the film becomes something entirely different. It's hard to imagine Shawshank without Brooks, without that haunting scene of him feeding birds or carving his name into the wood. But that entire storyline, almost cut. Studio execs said it slowed the plot, that it had nothing to do with Andy's escape. Frank Darabont had to fight to keep it. He knew that without Brooks, Red's future, and the meaning of hope, would lose its weight. Brooks showed what happens when a man gives up. Red's journey only mattered because Brooks didn't make it. And then there's Red's bus monologue, "Get busy living or get busy dying." It's one of the most powerful lines in the film, and it wasn't in the original script. That final voiceover, where Red chooses to find Andy, was added late in production. The studio actually wanted to end the film there, on the bus. No reunion, no beach, just vague optimism. But Darabont refused. He believed the story wasn't just about hope, it was about hope fulfilled. So he kept the ending, showing Andy and Red together again, in the sun, at last. Even Tim Robbins revealed that the beach scene was the first thing they shot, before any prison scenes were filmed. That subtle awkwardness between them, it wasn't acting. It was real. They barely knew each other yet, and that distance made the reunion feel honest, quiet, earned. If the studio had gotten its way, Shawshank would have been a different movie. One with less heartbreak, less closure, and far less impact. Sometimes the best parts of a film are the ones that almost never happened. Warden Norton isn't just a villain crafted for the screen, he was pulled straight from real-life history. Bob Gunton, who played the Bible-thumping tyrant, revealed years later that Darabont handed him actual newspaper clippings about a warden from the 1950s. This man ran a prison in the Midwest, used inmates as slave labor to renovate his own home, quoted scripture constantly, and embezzled funds without remorse. Sound familiar? That real-world hypocrisy became the backbone of Norton's character. On the outside, he was all righteousness and religion. But behind closed doors, he ruled with greed and cruelty. Gunton said it was the contrast that made Norton so disturbing, not his violence, but his ability to justify it with a smile and a verse from the Bible. Understanding this makes Norton's final scene hit even harder. When the police close in, he doesn't run. He doesn't fight. He ends it, not out of fear, but because the image he built for himself couldn't survive public disgrace. For him, the idea of being seen as one of them, as just another prisoner, was worse than any sentence. And that's what makes him terrifying. He's not a movie monster. He's someone who actually existed. Most people think the redemption in the Shawshank Redemption is about Andy's escape. And yes, it's about freedom, but not the kind measured in miles. Tim Robbins said it best, the title isn't just about Andy clearing his name. It's about what he gives back. He redeems the prison itself, quietly transforming a place built to break people into one that restores them. The library, the music, the rooftop beers, all of it was Andy's way of fighting back without violence. Hope was his rebellion. Red's journey runs even deeper. For decades, he said the right words to the parole board, never meaning a thing. But when he finally stops pretending, when he tells the truth, says he no longer cares what they think, that's his redemption. Not the release papers, not the beach, the moment he owns his story. Morgan Freeman called it, escaping the prison of your own mind. And when you see it that way, Shawshank stops being a prison break movie and becomes something far more powerful. It's about breaking out of guilt, of fear, of hopelessness, about choosing to live, even when life has forgotten you. And that kind of escape, it's the hardest one of all. When The Shawshank Redemption hit theaters in 1994, nobody showed up. It opened against Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump, made less than its $25 million budget, and quietly disappeared. By Hollywood standards, it was a failure. But then something strange happened. People started watching it on VHS, then on TNT, then again and again. Morgan Freeman said it became comfort food for the soul. You didn't plan to watch it, you just never turned it off. By the late 90s, Shawshank had become the most rented film in America. Then it climbed IMDb's rankings, eventually claiming the top spot as the greatest movie of all time. Not because of hype, not because of sequels or franchises, but because it connected, slowly, quietly, one viewer at a time. Even the prison itself got a second life. The Ohio State Reformatory, once known for its brutal conditions, was transformed into a tourist destination. Over 100,000 people now visit every year to walk the halls where Andy and Red found freedom. The very place that once symbolized hopelessness became a monument to it being overcome. And just like Andy chipping away at a wall for 20 years, Shawshank carved its legacy out of stone. One recommendation, one rewatch, one heart at a time. The Shawshank Redemption isn't just a movie. It's a blueprint for survival, for hope, for the quiet power of human connection. And once you know what really went into making it, the hidden backstories, the near-deleted scenes, the real inmates and real pain, you realize something. This story wasn't just told, it was lived. Every frame is layered with intention. Every performance carries a truth that never made it into the script. From a $1 deal, to real prison walls, to characters built from private grief and second chances, Shawshank isn't great because it was designed to be. It's great because it wasn't. It wasn't chasing awards. It wasn't trying to be a hit. It was trying to be honest. And that honesty is what made it immortal. So the next time you watch it, don't just look at the story. Look at the silence between the lines, the gestures, the shadows, the choices. Because the real redemption isn't just Andy's escape, it's the message buried beneath it, that even in the darkest place, light can survive. And that maybe, just maybe, hope is the most powerful thing we've got.